I didn't think that I was going to do a recording today. I thought to myself, oh, hey, this is great. They're banning boosting communities. That's really awesome. I'm going to talk about that in a stream or something like that. And then I see this. I have not read this yet. This just appeared on the Twitters, and I was like, I got to do my hair. I got to do this. So let's get to reading. Okay. Development preview. Cross-faction instances. It's happening. For years now, many players have questioned whether the rules restricting communication and cooperation between Alliance and Horde need to be so absolute. The faction divide could keep close friends from playing together or cause players to feel that their faction leaves them with far fewer opportunities to pursue their favorite group content. But these downsides have long been justified in order to preserve a central element of the Warcraft universe. It all began with a game titled Warcraft's Orcs and Humans, right? But to quote a one-time war chief of the Horde, times change. I, whoever this is, probably Ian, am pleased to announce that we are working on adding the ability for Alliance and Horde players to form pre-made parties together for dungeons, raids, and raided PvP. There have been 2 decades worth of code and content crafted with the assumption that parties can only have players of a single faction. And while we want to make this feature available as soon as possible, the extent of the change means that it couldn't be ready in time for the upcoming Eternity's End content update. Instead, we're planning to test and release it as a subsequent 9.2.5 update. Ew! Which means 2023 for 10.0. Probably. Anyway, we're eager to hear your feedback about the details we're sharing today and on the details of our implementation when this feature becomes available to the public test realm following the release of Eternity's End. In crafting the rule set for this new feature, we are guided by 2 goals. First is to focus on organized instant gameplay. Dungeons, raids, and raided PvP have been at the center of the most compelling arguments for relaxing the faction divide. This is content that by definition requires a pre-made group, and thus, social barriers will have the greatest negative impact on people's ability to access these experiences on their preferred terms. 2. Make this an opt-in feature as much as possible. In terms of in-world fiction and player preferences, there are decades of animosity to overcome. While we are excited to offer players the choice to reach across the faction divide and cooperate to overcome common foes, we know that there are many who will react warily to this change, and we don't want to override those preferences. This is about increasing options for players. These guidelines led us to the following system. Players will be able to directly invite members of the opposite faction to a party if you have a battle tag or a real ID friendship, or if you are members of a cross-faction WoW community. Yes! Pre-made groups in the group finder listings for mythic dungeons, raids, or rated RPGs will be open to applicants of both factions, though the group finder may choose to restrict the listing to same faction applicants if they so choose. Guilds will remain single faction, and random matchmade activities like heroic dungeons, skirmishes, or random battlegrounds will all remain same faction, both because there is a less faction-driven pressure around random groups, and to avoid compromising the opt-in nature of the feature by randomly placing a queuing orc in a group with a night elf. Once in a party together, members of the opposite faction will remain unfriendly while in the outdoor world, and will be fully hostile in war mode, as they do today. Though they will be able to communicate through party chat. Upon entering a dungeon, raid, or raided PvP match, however, all members will be friendly and be able to assist each other in combat, trade loot, earn shared achievements, and otherwise fully cooperate the same way members of the same faction have always been able to. A major goal in announcing this feature in advance is to make sure that we're all capturing all the expectations and requirements for this to be a smooth experience. A group raiding, doing Mythic Plus keys, or chasing higher PvP ratings should be able to operate seamlessly whether they're a same faction or cross-faction group. This functionality will also apply to legacy instances and is available at all levels. Yes. Though there will be several older instances that cross-faction parties cannot enter, at least for now, such as the Battle of Dazara Lore, the Trial of the Crusader, Icecrown Citadel because of the gunship battle, and a handful of others that similarly have extensive faction-specific components that will have to be reworked to support cross-faction parties. Yeah, makes sense to me. There are likely those who have read this far with some unease, worried that this is chipping away at a foundational principle of Warcraft. At BlizzCon in 2019, an attendee asked about cross-faction play. We responded that at the time, the Alliance and Horde separation is a pillar of what makes Warcraft Warcraft. But upon reflection, that's an oversimplification. Alliance and Horde identify Alliance and Horde identity is what is fundamental to Warcraft. And while at times that identity has been one of division and open conflict, we've seen Alliance and Horde finding common ground and working together ever since Warcraft 3, notably including the last time a Warcraft chapter was named Eternity's End. Haha. And the instances of cooperation in World of Warcraft itself are too numerous to count. We're hopeful that these changes will serve to actually strengthen faction identity by allowing more players to play the faction whose values, aesthetic, and characters they find more compelling, rather than feeling forced to choose between their personal preference and the ability to play with friends. Following the events of Battle for Azeroth, the Alliance and Horde are poised in an uneasy armistice. The factions still stand apart, and even as some of their leaders cooperate in the Shadowlands, countless members of each faction will neither forgive nor forget the wartime actions of the other. For every Jaina, there is a Gen, and that seems unlikely to change anytime soon. But why shouldn't players be able to make that choice for themselves, especially in cooperative settings where the story revolves around coming together to overcome dire threats? We look forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback on this feature both now and once it arrives for testing on the 925 PTR. We'll see you in Azeroth. So it's coming with some caveats, and my biggest takeaway right now that they didn't say anything more on was with regards to communities. They mentioned cross-faction communities. Cross-faction guilds, unfortunately, they're not going to be a thing. Oh well. Cross-faction communities, though, are going to be a thing. And it's somewhere in here. Here we go. Players will be able to directly invite members of the opposite faction to a party if you have a battle tag or real ID friendship, or if you're members of a cross-faction WoW community. This is central to the success of cross-faction stuff. Now, Siren aside, there is a big plus to having cross-faction like anything, because it provides all these like new options, new opportunities for people to play and do stuff together. However, there isn't so much there with trying to reach out to new players, new people, except for perhaps the pre-made group tool. So I'm glad that there is going to be an opportunity for cross-faction stuff to happen in the pre-made group tool. I'm okay. I think it, just as an initial reaction, I feel okay with having group leaders having the option to segregate or otherwise restrict people from joining. I see very low adoption rates of that box being checked or unchecked or whatever, because I think more than anything, players just want to be able to quickly fit that group. What's going to matter more is going to be that person's Mythic Plus or IO score, and not so much whether they sport the Horde or Alliance, unless there's like some sort of a people that want, hey, we want a Shadow Meld group, or we want something like that, and that's totally fine. That's like a different sort of restriction. My hopes, though, again, they rest with WoW communities at being successful. This is going to provide a lot of opportunities for cross-faction communities to grow and thrive. And that was one of the big things that was really sucky about WoW communities, is that it was faction restrictive. So, as a content creator, it was much harder for me to reach out and be friendly with folks as if, oh yeah, I'm a Horde-based content creator. And that's not something that I wanted to be. Obviously, I sport the Horde and I'm all for them and all that stuff, but not being able to play with whoever I want just because of faction, that really sucks. Even back in 2004, when I started playing the World of Warcraft for the first time and I wanted to play with my real friends, they were like, hey, what faction do you play? Oh, I play Horde. And they're like, oh, well, I guess we're not going to play together. And we didn't. And that sucks. It provided a lot of character. The faction divide, it makes World of Warcraft feel unique. And what we're seeing here is Blizzard doing its best to try and offer some sort of compromise where, hey, let's let players play together, but also let's not forget what it is that makes the World of Warcraft what it is, which is the faction animosity. Let's try to preserve that as best as possible. So I think this is a great first step. I am very, very curious to see if this is going to be the only step that they take towards cross-faction stuff. And again, my small concern there is that not going all the way and just fully lifting the faction divide. It's only a half step. It only halfway opens the door for people to actually meet one another. Right now, it feels like the only opportunities for people to meet cross-faction outside of a instance would be like the group finder, which is people about to go into an instance anyway, as well as communities. But I see a great opportunity for WoW communities to thrive a lot more. More RP stuff, more social, more social communities can start springing up together that don't have to feel that sort of restriction, and I think that's great. And that's kind of like the only reaction that I have to that right now. There's probably more to come. Real quick, there was also a big thing on boosting communities being banned. I guess I'm just gonna have to say that for tomorrow's conversation, but right now, I'm just super excited about this. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts too. Is this enough? Is this going too far? Or not? Is this about time? I don't know, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Put that in a comment below. Otherwise, I'm going to head out for now. You guys have a great one. I'll see you for the next thing. Until then, though, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.